At Indy, a record-setting pace gives Arie his first. At Charlotte, Rusty returns to form in dominant fashion. And at Monaco, wheel-to-wheel action gets too close for comfort. This and more next on Speedweek.
Speedweek is brought to you by Dodge Cars and Trucks. On the street or off the road, it's the new spirit of Dodge.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Speedweek. I'm Bob Jenkins. We're on at a different time this week because of the College Baseball World Series. But next week, we'll be back along with the rest of Saturday Night Thunder in our regular Saturday night time slot. We'll have extensive coverage of Indy, Charlotte, Lime Rock, and Monaco, along with other news and highlights in the next half hour. And in just a few minutes, we'll be joined by Arie Luyendyk. Well, this year's Indy was a lot like this year's Daytona 500. It was fast, safe, and it featured a first-time race winner. As a matter of fact, a first-time winner, period. There is nothing like Indy. Others feel that way too. We overheard Allenzer Jr. tell his crew while the opening ceremonies were going on, "Man, I love this place." But the emotion and butterflies of pre-race quickly turned to concentration and work when the green flag drops. Rick Mears led the 33 across the line, but by the time they got to the first turn, it was Emerson Fittipaldi from the pole grabbing the advantage and becoming the first driver since Bobby Unser in 1972 and 73 to lead the first lap 2 consecutive years. Penske teammate Danny Sullivan's tough month ended where it did in 1988 against the first and second turn wall after only 20 laps.
Looks like we had a wheel bearing failure in the right rear, and of course when it came apart it just exploded and disintegrated part of the wheel and just threw the car into spin and smacked the wall.
This was not the year that Mario Andretti shook his bad luck. Another DNF that makes 17 in the 25 Indy 500s that he's driven in. This was Pancho Carter's 16th 500, but none has ever ended like this. The crash in turn 4 was caused when something broke on the car. Pancho was okay. Michael Andretti must be thinking that his dad's bad luck at Indy may be rubbing off onto him. Michael spent several laps in the pits fixing a bearing in the right rear before dropping out with a severe vibration. He finished 20th. And then there was the third Andretti, John, cause of the race's final yellow. He spun in turn 1 after a problem with the rear suspension. A contusion on the left knee was his only injury. It looked for a while that no one could beat M.O. Blistered tires did. Unscheduled pit stops for fresh rubber kept him from becoming the first foreign-born driver to repeat at Indy. Bobby Rahal led until Arie Luyendyk slipped by on the low side of turn 3, 32 laps from the finish. The Flying Dutchman then pulled away to a margin of nearly 11 seconds by the time the double checkered flags waved. At 185 miles an hour, it shattered the previous mark held by Rahal by almost 15 miles an hour. The top 10 finishers, Luyendyk, Rahal, Fittipaldi, Allenzer Jr. 4th, Rick Mears, who battled handling problems all day, was 5th. Supertex finished 6th, followed by Cosworth-powered Scott Brayton, highest finishing rookie Eddie Cheever in a year-old car, Kevin Cogan in a Buick, and Judd-powered rookie Scott Goodyear. And it is our pleasure to welcome to the Speedweek studios the winner of the 74th running of the 500, Arie Luyendyk. So I guess you postponed all those wins for the first 5 years of your racing career just so you could win Indy for the first one, right?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible that I happened to win my first race in IndyCars, and it happened to be right here in Indianapolis. And it's began to sink in a little bit, but it's still incredible that it happened yesterday. It was just a great day.
So many people have tried for so many times, and yet you can claim victory in Indianapolis.
That's right. I was, looking at the tape yesterday, and I saw Mario climb out of his car, and I just couldn't help but feel sorry for him. He's been trying and trying since '69, and here I am, 6th time around at Indy, and we got first place.
The race itself, M.O. had the tire problems, and you didn't. And it seemed to me that you played a very smart race, just waiting for the race to come to you, really.
Well, in the beginning, it was hard to keep up because the car was pushing a bit, and after the first pit stop especially. And I just told told the crew on the radio, I said, we got to fix this push we have in the car, and they got the message, and we put on the biggest stagger tire, right rear, and it went away a little bit, and then the next pit stop we put some more wind in it, and that was pretty much it. Then the car was just handling beautiful, also on full tanks. And then when it really was a time of the race where I had to really get down to business with Bobby, I could wheel him in, because that was the time that my car was at its best. And I think it was a big surprise to him and to his crew, because all of a sudden I was turning in, I did some 220s before, but then I started doing 222s, and I had a 123 in there. And that's when I closed the gap considerably on him and was able to pass him.
No tire blistering problems for you at all?
Just the last set. The last set we had some blisters on the rear tires.
Why was that occurring so much? Was it the fact that maybe some teams were putting more air in the tires than they should have been?
That's possible, and then of course the track seemed like it was in a condition where it just wanted to make the car push all the time. So a lot of people were turning in front wing and putting on bigger staggers, and they got the car neutral maybe, but then when the fuel load went down, the car just got more loose and heated up the rear tire, and then after a while they just, the chunks of rubber just fly off and you end up with blisters. And we had a push all day, and right towards the end of our stints on a low fuel load, the car would still have a little push. So we never really got it to that point where it was neutral or loose.
You etched your name in the record books, something that no one will ever be able to take away from you, and a whole lot of congratulations from all of us here.
Thank you very much. It's nice that next year we don't have to drink out of the Rick Mears glasses, but we can have my name on it.
That milk was pretty good in Victory Lane, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you know what? I took a few sips, and then when I gave it back, it was empty, so somebody else out there drank my milk.
Well, Arie picked up enough money the night after the Indianapolis 500 to buy a lot of milk at the victory banquet. In fact, all 33 participants have nothing to complain about. Even the last place finisher did okay.
Stan Fox from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Corporation, $100,699. Designated awards, $7,000. Your total comes to $108,021 for 33rd place. Stan Fox.
That's a great start, and I'd like to congratulate Doug Shearson's team on a great job in the race.
There were only 3 rookies in this year's field. The highest finisher and Rookie of the Year was Eddie Cheever.
I'm very glad that I've started this new career off on a very good foot. I'm very proud to be here. It's everything this month has been very big. It's a very big racing track. There are hundreds of thousands of people. There's a very big prize money. The only backside to it is that also you have an accident. It's a very big accident. But I guess, everything can't be perfect. But I have really enjoyed myself, and I really want to thank everybody here. It's been a very exciting month, and I am really looking forward to coming back here many more times in the future.
And for his 8th place finish, $173 grand. The second place finisher, Bobby Rahal, won almost $500,000, $488,500 to be exact.
Just a great month for us, and all in all, a little disappointed obviously that we didn't win, but we tried our best, and Arie just he did a little bit better, and my congratulations to him.
And then to champion Luyendyk and the Doug Shearson crew, the largest paycheck in all of motorsports.
It's always great to proclaim a new champion. We do it tonight. Arie Luyendyk has won the Indianapolis 500, and with it, $1,090,940.
Total purse for the 74th 500, $6,325,803. 3-time winner Rick Mears collected $201,610 for coming home 5th and remained the all-time leader in 500 earnings.
Speedweek is brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. And by Dodge Cars and Trucks. On the street or off the road, it's the new spirit of Dodge.
Coming up, crunch time pays off, while this cat takes home the big cheese in IMSA.
Lots of motor oils claim to be tough. Quaker State puts it in writing.
Ask your participating service center about Quaker State's tough lubrication guarantee.
Only a tough motor oil can make a guarantee this tough. Quaker State is one tough motor oil.
I say our cars are every bit as good as Japanese cars. You say, I'm from Missouri, prove it.
Well, something just happened in California that shook even me. An independent testing company asked 100 Americans who would consider buying Japanese cars to compare a Dodge Spirit and Plymouth Acclaim to a Honda Accord. They drove them, made 33 separate comparisons, and 83 out of 100 judged Spirit and Acclaim superior overall to Honda Accord. You wanted proof? You got proof.
When it comes to overall performance, Road and Track confirms it. The Dunlop D40 M2 outperforms the competition. First in wet braking. First in dry braking. Second in lap times on the test track. Second in road holding ability. Road and Track proves you can't beat the Dunlop D40 M2. Dunlop outperforms.
Planning. Where'd I get the capital to start this business with my daughter? By investing for the long haul. And forget full commission brokers. I called Charles Schwab. Munis, mutual funds, blue chips, and I saved plenty with Schwab's low commissions. Every day I tell my daughter, think long term. Make your own decisions. Be your own man.
We give you more ways to succeed.
The Charlotte Motor Speedway was the site of NASCAR's longest race, the Coca-Cola 600. And when it was all said and done, Rusty Wallace showed that despite the controversy that has surrounded his team this year, he still is a force to be reckoned with.
A safe start to the 600 saw Kenny Schrader take the Kodiak Lumina to the front. But look out, Kenny. Rusty Wallace is back in town. He knifed through the field, and on lap 32, Wallace took the lead. A familiar position for last year's Winston Cup champion. He would lead 152 of the first 200 laps. But trouble for some other big names. Darrell Waltrip never had a chance after experiencing big trouble under the Tide Machine's hood.
It's kind of like, it's not really all like on 7 cylinders, like 7.5, like it's got like a dead miss to it, more like a plug or a short in the system than a drop valve.
And once again, unbelievable luck for Winston Points leader Dale Earnhardt at Charlotte. He cut a tire down, hit the wall in turn 2. When Earnhardt rode the wrecker down that long backstretch to the garage, he was going to finish almost dead last, sure to lose his points lead.
Blew out going in, and I just, hadn't any warning at all. So, just one of them things you can't do anything about.
Another good finish for Mark Martin today, but first they had to take a little wedge out of that Folgers Thunderbird. Hey, guy, don't forget your ratchet. Just in time. And now, down only 134 laps, Dale Earnhardt returned to the race. A fantastic effort to put the car back together by that Goodwrench crew. He would regain some points and retain his lead in the championship. Jack Pennington had to be the luckiest driver in the field today. He takes a long, wild ride sideways in 3 and 4. How nobody hit car 47 was a small miracle. Cut a little grass, Jack, and head back out on the track. And don't forget to count your blessings. Rusty Wallace lost a competitor when Kenny Schrader slowed. Tough break for his crew chief, new crew chief, and owner, Rick Hendrick. After a caution, the race came down to one short lap. Wallace was first, Elliott second, Mark Martin third. Rusty had a good jump with Elliott on his tail. He had led most of the day at the 600, so why should the last lap be any different? His crew was ready to burst. Elliott's people praying for that 9 car to pass. Going into the final turns, Wallace went a little high. Elliott went low. But Wallace still had enough left to take a good bite out of turn 4, and he would hold on.
When that caution plate come out, I said, tell them they're going to have to enter the caution because there's oil all over this place. And they got it cleaned up pretty quick, and I went, oh, just like them to do that to me. But it worked out okay.
Earnhardt's poor showing, combined with Morgan Shepherd's 10th consecutive top 10 finish, he was 8th, has tightened up the points. Dale's 90-point lead has now shrunk to only 21. Martin maintains 3rd, followed by Jeff Bodine and Rusty. Darrell Waltrip fell from 4th to 6th. And the Winston Cup cars weren't the only ones racing at Charlotte. Veteran Dick Trickle made a rare appearance in the Grand National Division and quickly showed he was up to the task by capturing the pole for the Champion 300. Trickle left little doubt in the first half that he would be the man to beat, repeatedly fending off the challenges of Dale Jarrett, Sterling Marlin, and Dale Earnhardt. The only accident of the day came when number 79, Dave Rezendes, appeared to get tapped from behind, sending him head-on into the backstretch wall. Rezendes was able to walk away uninjured. The last place starter after a practice crash was Winston Cup veteran Harry Gant, but he worked his way to the front and, along with Jarrett, set himself up for a final shootout with Trickle. Coming out of the last turn, Jarrett managed to grab the inside line, going wheel-to-wheel with Trickle. Then, when Gant also moved down low, the draft was enough to help Jarrett nip Trickle by inches at the line, giving Dale his 4th career Grand National victory, his 2nd at this superspeedway. But one man's joy was another man's disappointment.
I've just been working him, and finally he got a little bit too loose up there, and my car stuck right to the bottom, and hey, it's just a great feeling. The guys did a great job today getting me in and out of the pits. That helped us a lot.
You know, the car was loose, and I was trying to protect it. I just didn't do a good job that time, you know. And, about the same thing happened to me in the white flag lap of the Open, you know, but I was managed to get that win back, and, of course, this time I couldn't motor him to the line.
Chuck Bown remains the points leader in the Busch Grand National division. What a difference a year makes. Morgan Shepherd and Brett Bodine are the 2 Winston Cup drivers who have improved their positions the most in the point standings. Meanwhile, 1990 has not been a good year for Alan Kowicki, Sterling Marlin, and Rick Wilson.
Discount Golf, America's #1 golf shop, is located on the northwest corner of Redwood Road and 5400 South next to Fred Meyer. Nevada Bob's won't be undersold.
I'm going out to eat, I'm going to treat myself right. Gonna give me some ribs at Tony Roma's tonight. I'm gonna give in, I'm gonna dig in.
Come on to Tony Roma's for the ribs judged best in America. And we've got more. Grilled, barbecued, or tossed. You know at Tony Roma's, it's going to be great.
Tony Roma's got the best tasting ribs around.
Why go out unless you go for the best?
Friday night, rookie sensation Delino DeShields leads the Expos against the Pirates. Then fiery Chris Savo and the Reds face the Dodgers. Friday night at 7:30 Eastern, live on ESPN.
Travel arranged through Eastern Airlines with nonstop service from Atlanta to over 60 cities across the United States. At Eastern, we're building a great new airline.
The Formula One circus is currently in the process of packing up and heading to the North American continent. The Canadian Grand Prix will be held in Montreal next weekend, and the Mexican Grand Prix will be held in Mexico City in just 3 weeks. Now, while there have been some exciting and competitive Formula One races recently, last Sunday's Monte Carlo Grand Prix can't be put in that category. But then this is Monte Carlo, where the glamour and scenery is as important as the motor race. Now, there was some excitement when the green light flashed on the first time. The field moved through the first few corners okay, with Ayrton Senna leading from the pole. But before the first lap was complete, Gerhard Berger tried to pass Alain Prost, as John Alesi had done, and didn't make it. The resulting shunt brought out the red and forced Berger, Prost, and Ivan Capelli to backup cars. The second start resulted in the same leader, but this time no crash. It was Senna, Prost, Alesi, Berger, Riccardo Patrese, and Terry Boutsen. Then the battery in Prost's Ferrari exploded, dousing him with acid. It was quickly neutralized by the team's doctor. Gearbox failure caused his teammate Nigel Mansell to slow and eventually drop out. Now watch closely, this will be the only passing you're going to see. No, it really wasn't much of a competitive race. At the end, Senna slowed, allowing a fairly close 1-2-3 finish. But it was enough to give him his second victory of the season.
I really slowed down a lot because there was no point. I was very concerned with the engine. I had a noise on the engine from mid-race on, a drop on power, and I was then just trying to save the engine as much as possible to make sure I would finish. And it was enough to win. Doesn't matter by 20, 30 or 5 seconds. It was important to make sure we wouldn't lose such a victory.
The top 6 finishers, and there were only 7 cars running at the end: Senna, Alesi, Berger, Boutsen, Alex Cappy, and Eric Bernard. It's been 7 years now since the Monaco race has been won by someone other than Prost or Senna. In IMSA Camel GT competition, it's now been 2 races since the once all-conquering electromotive Nissan has won. Here's Rick de Bruhl.
After taking their first victory at Topeka, the Toyota team looks set to blow off the competition at Lime Rock. Both Eagles starting on the front row, with Drake Olson running away at the start. It was the second race for Nissan's new GTP car, but it didn't last long. Derek Daly dropping out with mechanical problems after just 36 laps. Davy Jones didn't do much better in one of the Jags, only lasting to lap 45. After pit stops at midway, it turned into a race between Olson and John Nielsen in the other Jag. Then, on lap 100, Drake simply made a mistake. Trying to pass a slower car, Olson spun off course and out of the race.
It looked like it was just going to be a rub and everything would be all right, but evidently maybe he was running out of road. I don't know, but he must have turned in because he really hit my left rear and sent my car up in the air. Next thing I knew, my back end was up in the air and our day was over, so it wasn't his fault.
It almost took out Nielsen in the Jag as well, but he survived his off-course excursion, getting back in the race, now in the lead. From that point on, it was simply a case of hanging on. Wayne Taylor in the Chevy Spice sat back and waited for a mistake that never happened. He and teammate Jim Miller eventually finished second. It was the first Jaguar victory since the season opener at Daytona, although they still have a ways to go before they knock Jeff Brabham out of the points lead.
We've been so optimistic the whole year, and we've had good testings, and we've really been there all the time. This time we thought if we go cool, we might win it, and we did, so I don't know what the future will be.
At Lime Rock Park in Connecticut, I'm Richard Rule reporting for Speedweek.
Racing on TV this weekend. Saturday from Dover, Delaware, the Budweiser 200 Busch Grand National race live at 2 o'clock Eastern here on ESPN. Sunday, we'll have live coverage of the Winston Cup Budweiser 500 race beginning at noon Eastern Time. Dale Earnhardt is the defending race champion. Also Sunday afternoon, ABC will have live coverage of the Miller Genuine Draft 200 IndyCar race. Coverage begins at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.
It is one of the most rigorously tested fluids on Earth, relentlessly measured for maximum protection against the friction, the heat, and stress of today's engines. It is today's Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil.
The world's fastest and most exotic Mercedes-Benz comes on Goodyear Eagle radials, and only on Goodyear Eagle radials. Why? Because the engineers at Mercedes-Benz want it that way. And they're another reason why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
There's something new coming to you from Budweiser, and if the label turns your head, wait till you taste it. New Bud Dry. The first beer cold filtered for smooth draft taste, and dry brewed for no aftertaste. So if you're looking for smooth taste with no aftertaste, turn here. Try Bud Dry.
Welcome back to the show. The day following the Indy 500, the Holman Mile for USAC Championship Dirt Cars was held at the Indiana State Fairgrounds, and Jack Hewitt was the winner. Almost as big a part of the Indianapolis tradition is the annual trek to the following week to the Wisconsin State Fairgrounds near Milwaukee. In this week's Dick Wallen Racing Classic, Donald Davidson takes a look back at the 1970 Rex Mays 150.
It may be 20 years ago, but it seems the faces never change. Well, okay, maybe the looks do, but not the names. There's AJ working hard on his Ford engine, and Al Unser got a nice birthday present, his first Indianapolis 500 crown. But the celebration's over now. It's time to go back to work. Unser starts third today behind pole sitter Mario Andretti and Foyt. Waiting patiently for an opening, Unser cuts all the way down to the grass in 3 to grab the top spot. Then Foyt stay ends quickly. An oil leak sends him to the sidelines less than 20 laps into the race. Bobby Unser takes up the chase but has his hands full with Roger McCluskey as the two almost come together. Roger uses the inside line to move into second, and in no time the younger Unser also falls victim to McCluskey, who grabs the lead on lap 61. A couple of laps later, Bruce Walkup spins, and the resulting yellow has allowed the Unsers, Mario, and Joe Leonard to close the gap. Everything appears to be headed Roger's way, but Leonard is on the prowl. With less than 10 laps to go, the two go wheel to wheel, with Leonard finally powering past on the backstretch. Once again, it's a Johnny Lightning special in victory lane, but instead of Unser, it's Joe Leonard scoring his second career IndyCar victory.
I've been saying we've got advantages over Japanese cars, but even I didn't know how good we are. An independent testing company asked 100 Americans who would consider Japanese cars to compare a Plymouth Sundance and Dodge Shadow to a Honda Civic. After rating over 30 different categories, 76 out of 100 judged the Sundance and Shadow superior overall to Honda Civic. And they weren't even told our cars are the lowest priced cars in the world with a driver's airbag. Who knows, we might have gotten them all.
When it comes to overall performance, Road and Track confirms it. The Dunlop D40 M2 outperforms the competition. First in wet braking. First in dry braking. Second in lap times on the test track. Second in road holding ability. Road and Track proves you can't beat the Dunlop D40 M2. Dunlop outperforms.
He tamed the Monster Mile at Dover Downs Superspeedway twice last year. Now Dale Earnhardt returns to defend his title in the Budweiser 500, Sunday at noon Eastern, live on ESPN. Speedweek has been brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. And by Budweiser, the king of beers. Remember, know when to say when.
Getting back to the Indy 500 for just a moment. There's been more than one newspaper article written this week saying that perhaps the greatest spectacle in racing is losing some of its luster because of its lack of competitiveness. Well, Robin Miller, the associate sports editor of the Indianapolis Star, is the author of one of those articles. He's been a part of the racing scene for some 20 years.
A lot of people were talking about the race being a great race. Well, it was a great winner because it was somebody new and it was from a team that had never won before, and Luyendyk's got a great personality. But in terms of racing competition, I thought it was a horrible race because let's look at some facts. Halfway through the race on lap 100, there's 4 cars in the lead lap. Just to show you the disparity in the front of the field to the back, most of the guys in the back of the field had trouble running 208. The guys in front are running 217 to 220. They had an aero view once with a Goodyear blimp that showed Fittipaldi coming up on about a pack of about 6-year-old cars. I was talking to Jim Crawford about this, and it looked like it looked worse than an IMSA race. I mean, it looked like Le Mans. It looked like a Ford GT against an Austin Healey or something. I mean, it looked like all 5 of the cars jumped out of gear and went by them so fast. I think the Speedway has to, they have to make a drastic change. You know, in '79 they cut the boost back, and that really worked because it slowed the cars down. I mean, I'd like to see them either narrow the tires, throw the rear wing off, go to flat bottoms, do something that makes, give them all the horsepower they want. Guys have been saying this for the last 4 or 5 years. And then go back to the 3-2-1 markers. Who's the bravest? Who's the best at setting up a car? Who can get through the corners? And make the brakes, make them use both pedals again. The spirit of competition has been so far removed from IndyCar racing, it's a joke. That's why I still like midget and sprint car racing. You go out to a racetrack, and there's a lot of different guys there that might stumble onto the combination that night, and you might have a different winner 7 nights in a row. But you're never going to have a different winner at the Indianapolis 500. It was going to be out of the top 3 rows this year, just like it's been for the last 5 or 6. And it'll be like that till the end of time, or till they run out of cars.
And that just about does it for another edition of Speed Week. Now, don't forget, next week we'll be back at our regular time, Saturday night at 7:30 Eastern. We leave you with this tribute to the winner of the 74th running of the Indianapolis 500, Arie Luyendyk, and his Doug Shearson racing team. Congratulations on a great win. So long, everyone.
Get so nervous that they get on my nerves and make me nervous, but at least you don't do that. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. I appreciate the way you're driving the car.